Let's rock and roll.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Phoenix College Athletic Podcast. With me is the one and only Heinz Mueller. How you doing, Heinz?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Hey, so it's been a while. I'm glad we're here. Last time we did a podcast, it was during COVID, I think, over the phone.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and you've won the last 2 national titles. I want to talk about that right away. You won a national title just this past spring. Tell us a little bit about that, your experience, and how it was to win your 10th national title.
Well, it's pretty interesting because the year before we won the one in 2021, we really had a group of athletes that skill-wise were excellent, And the next year, we came back with a group of players that was from that 21 team, which were experienced. But I didn't think power-wise that we were going to be as good as threatening as we were the year before. But those players, well, what it really comes down to is when you have the athlete of the year and the pitcher of the year on your squad, you better do something right, So what happened is, as the season grew and we played and we got competitive, when we went into nationals, it was like a whole freaking different team. I mean, they were just brutal. I mean, they just went after them. I mean, it wasn't even. We ended up doing statistically better, 3 times as better offensively than the year before, which had the better athletes and the more power. And those guys, they run ruled 3 out of 5 opponents, and our pitcher, of course, took care of the rest. But that was the main thing. But we couldn't have done it without the player and pitcher of the year. I mean, you got to have good athletes, and they are excellent.
Well, speaking of Breonna, I've always been somewhat interested about her demeanor. She always looks like she's just chill. Like she's just like always like kind of dragging her feet, takes her time.
Almost kind of lazy, like.
Yeah, and almost like she don't care at all.
Right.
And describe that. What's it if you're a batter and you see this pitcher just kind of like taking her time to get the ball between each pitch? Is she one of the pitchers that is taking the longest between each pitch?
Yeah, the thing about it is it's deceiving as a hitter because you look at her and you usually get pitchers that are pretty quick in delivery and all that, but she takes her time. Nothing bothers her except when a coach calls her out. When a coach calls her out, she really gets ticked. In fact, it really takes her out of her game. That's the only time I've ever seen that happen. But she's just so easygoing, man. She knows she's good in our division. She knows she can handle the opposition. So it's all about confidence.
So I remember in the national championship game, it was towards the very end, and you really can't see like emotion on Breonna. Like she's, you never know if like is she winning or losing if you just tuned in. And then I saw her get angry once. Like she took the rosin bag and just threw it on the ground, and then she struck out the next batter. Like the first time I seen anger. What kind of emotions have you seen out of Breonna?
That's what happens if she does get ticked off. She does just look out. I mean, it's just you don't have a chance because she does have emotions. It's just that when you're a gifted athlete, like, with Jessica McDonald soccer, they're just easy. They just make the game easy for themselves, and that just accentuates out on the field. And the other teams, they're ticked because it doesn't bother her. And she goes and takes care of business and gets off the mound. I mean, that young lady, I shouldn't say kid, but that young lady is the best statistical athlete that we've ever had in the program. And I mean that because of COVID, a couple years that she was here, and she stayed here, which was incredible because I never thought, I figured after 2 years she'd go somewhere else. She didn't want to. She wanted to stay here, play here, enjoyed it, had fun. And of course now she's at the U of A. So
yeah, U of A. So that was a kind of a late pickup for U of A.
And she wasn't sure whether she was going to go, to be honest with you. She was done with college softball, but she's there now. It'll be interesting to see how she does.
Well, I think a lot of people tune into this podcast because of your success. You've had 10 national titles, 11 overall for the college in softball, because we had one in 1979, and
First
then
year
first year
softball.
of its existence.
Yeah, of existence. Wow. Yeah.
So if I'm tuning in as a coach, and I am a coach, and I'm curious about a lot of things, the question I have for you is, why are you coaching, and why are you coaching so long in the game of softball?
Well,
or the sport, I should say.
I'm old school. When I was a young man, I played and coached when I was 19, 20 years old. So I've always had it in me to be a coach, but I also played and coached. But the thing is, I like competition, and it's just fun. It's just, hey, let's choose sides. When I was a little kid, let's choose sides, and whether you're playing soccer, wiffle ball, football, let's choose sides and play a game, and let's have bragging rights, you know. So I've taken that up every single year, and I still do it. I don't know what I could do at home to compensate if I retired. I just know that I love the game, and I love the competition, and I love to see young athletes do well. I mean, it's just, you got to have good athletes, but at the same time, they got to have that self-motivation and drive to be the best they can. And that's all you can look at as a coach.
If you could go back in time and talk to Heinz Mueller before winning national titles, what would you tell your previous self if there's one thing you would like to change as a young coach from all the experience that you've gained? What would you tell your younger self?
Well, that's a really good question, David. That's interesting. I never thought of it that way. I would just say the world's not going to end, and always work till the ultimate thing you're coaching. In my younger days, I was very, very hot-headed, and you do as a young coach. It's just natural because you're not confident about yourself at that time. So as you get more and more confident, get used to it, and you've gone through everything, we've lost a lot of games as well, and you learn from that. And so I would tell myself, hey, relax. You got, as long as you stay healthy, you got a good mind, you get another chance the next day, and that's what's really cool about the job, is that right now we have a whole new group, and, it's a challenge. So it's fun. It keeps you sharp.
Yeah.
As a person.
Let me ask you this then. Give me anywhere from your top 1 to top 3 successes that you've had in your whole coaching career. What are your top number 1, or you want to give me 3?
Well, my number 1 would be the number 1 national championship we won in the year 2000, because I never expected it, because we were a 500 team, and of course we were lucky to host it here at Phoenix College and at Rose Mofford, which gave us an advantage. But we're just a 500 team, and that was the first nationals, and that's always special. The second one is one where we didn't win, and we had a returning team with no starters. We had a returner, our number 4 pitcher returned. We had no starters, none. And I thought, oh boy, we got our work cut out for us. And the kid turned out to be a pitching All-American, our number 4 kid. She came from Betty Fairfax. Her mom and dad were both athletes, and she really, really, really worked hard to achieve. She was only like 5'5". She was a pitcher, but she gets first team All-American. And like I said, she was our number 4 pitcher the year before. She came, one of my best pitchers in the country, but that team, you really had a coach to get the talent out of them, because you didn't have any returners. There were no returners, no starters that came back. And to me, that was the best coaching job I've ever done, even though you didn't win a national title. We finished second, but, you got to go, whoa, that's pretty friggin' good with no starters returning. And the third one is the last one. The last national was just last year, because it never gets old, and it's just always rewarding to have a team function well. And like I said before earlier, they were really, really just friggin' gung-ho. and they put their will to the teams. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's way beyond my expectation because of their self-motivation and drive to be the best. So those are my three, really.
Well, let me ask you another question about managing. So trying to manage all the talent you have, and with a lot of talent, you probably have a lot of egos and a lot of different personalities. How do you manage such a talented group of young women to be able to perform at a high level as a team?
Competition. Develop the competition on your own team. Each player competes the other player to be a starter. That's, to me, is the biggest thing, and the challenge for them to make sure they go to class, and if they don't play, and they got to abide by the rules, because the rule is, we talked about the other day in a staff meeting, well, they got to have teeth in your consequences. The teeth is they don't play.
Yeah.
You don't do it, you ain't playing. There's nothing worse that an athlete hates, especially if they're starters, to sit.
Absolutely.
You know that.
What about consistency? How would you define how consistent your team is? How important is consistency within your team?
So the way my philosophy is, in fact, I just talked to the team about it today, is that I don't worry about how we start, period. We do have we got fall ball, and then we get into spring ball. So there is a length there that you can work within your team during the practice season and then in the season. My main thing is just like when regionals is ready in May, April, I don't want my team to be on a high note till April, May, when we go to regionals and nationals. That's what, or the month before regionals and nationals. That's when I want them to be the best in expectations. The rest is just consistently reinforcing that.
What about keeping the morale high? How do you motivate your entire team to, and kind of going off with what you just said, maintain energy and peaking at the right time? What do you do that might be a little different than most coaches as far as keeping your team motivated and the morale high?
Okay, so with young ladies, peer pressure is really, really, really can hit them. And benefits having a successful program is that you don't want to be the player that comes on and has failure. And with young ladies, there are players that, hey, if I don't button up here, if I don't work to what we need to do, I don't want to be on the team that fails. So I think just the peer pressure within itself, because we've been so successful, it's just like recruiting. Our recruits are all coming to us. We actively go out and recruit. They come in, we work them out. That's part of having a successful program. That's built in.
How is your recruiting? Like, how often do you do it? How much time do you spend on it? How's recruiting done for you?
You gotta recruit. You got to get the best athlete you can within, and you got to judge what your opponents are recruiting, and you got to base that on what you need to do and don't need to do on recruiting. And like I told my coaches this year, we just got 6 recruits committed, and I'm waiting to hear on 2 D1. We got 7 D1 players committed. In
Bounce
my
backs?
view, for next year.
For next year?
2023s.
Wow.
That plus bringing back what we have. This is going to sound weird, and this team's going to be really good when we get finalized. But on paper, just on paper, doesn't mean that will be the best team we've ever had. Because even though losing the player and pitcher of the year, we got so many D1 prospects coming in. It's unbelievable.
It's not going to matter.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your staff a little bit. How important is it to have a good support staff, your assistant coaches, your team mom, or whoever is part of your administration on your team? How important are they?
Well, I have a parent that handles all the parents, which is unique. Did not do that after coaching club ball for so many years. I didn't want to do much with parents. But I have a couple parents that they do a lot of fundraising for us on the side. They do it. I don't get involved in it. They just come and, give us a donation of whatever they come up with. That's one part of it. the other part, so I don't get the kids involved in that. I don't like the kids being involved in fundraising. So then my assistant coaches is really, I have my assistant coaches as skill coaches, so they handle one area of the game. Each one handles a different area. And like now, I don't do as much on the field coaching individual skills like I used to in the old days. I manage them. And I think that's the best way to go. And believe it or not, just like yourself, being successful in soccer, you may change coaches, but as long as you're there, you'll keep it consistent. Does that make sense? Because you're the brains. You're the ones. When we won national titles, it was like 3 different coaching staffs that we won them. So the consistency is the person that's running it. And as long as you can manage it and keep it and have your skills and what you think is a good ball player on and off the field, you'll do just fine. And I'm really blessed with having 3 people that really handle the skills portion of a different skill on the field.
Yeah, I cycle through coaches quite a bit.
Me too. I've gone through my share of coaches.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, for the pay
hard.
and everything,
It's
There's hard
no
to stay put.
It's really difficult.
Yeah, and I know when I do have a good support staff that it makes my life obviously much more easier.
No question about it.
You got to manage the kids. You don't want to be managing the coaches as well.
Exactly, and I have to do that too. I do have. There's times I have to manage the coaches, but and that's all part of it.
And far as like, you're a creature of habit. I see you're like, you have things set up in such a way that you always have your signing day on this date. You have all your details handled. Explain the details. How important are details? And when you follow details, how does that impact the student athletes you have and your team collectively?
Well, I really am very anal when it comes to details in organization. In fact, when I first started coaching, it was my analytics and my attention to detail that got our program to be successful, because I knew we weren't going to win right away because of the talent that we didn't have. Remember, that was a process. And the process was, at the beginning, you try to find 4-year schools after, have them get good grades, transferability. That way players would go to the community, other players, and say, yeah, hey, coach, get you another 4-year school, yada, yada, yada. So that was a way of starting off. But detail is, I was here every friggin' day of the week. I was here Saturdays, Sundays, every single day. I was at home, like last night. I got up at 2:30, started my practice routine. I went to bed at 8:30, but got up at 2:30 and just started working, because that's what's in your mind as a coach. You're constantly thinking about what to do, besides your chores at home and all that good stuff. That's my out. My out is to think about our program and what we can do to get better. And so we had sessions today on the mental part of the game. I really stress really, really hard. And so we went through a series of mental training today. But bottom line, that detail, I have my yearly calendar. It's not on the computer. It's handwritten. It's got January through December, and I plan out each month, because before I worked here, I was a planner in the private sector. Always was planning. So that's what I do with my team. I plan out the whole year, and I plan out, and it's like my desk too. It's just clean as could be.
So describe to us, what's your first 30 days like? Kids are here, first 30 days, student athletes. What's your first 30 days? What do you want to accomplish during that time frame?
Well, you set up orientations. Obviously, we did as a department, but individually, you set up meeting with with your SAS advisors, your trainers. You get all that set up. Your players meet. You go over your rules and regs, and this is the way we are. I don't have a lot of rules and regs. I have about 2 or 3 things. The main thing I always tell is the 3 main things you can control as a player, and this is what I drive my team on. You can control because I put a lot of my responsibility on my players. Discipline, focus, effort. So if you do those three things that you as a player, I'm not going to do it, you as a player are going to do it, and then you got to lay out, this is what you got to do. You got to go to conditioning, you got to work hard in conditioning, you go into study hall. Sometimes we don't even have study hall, because I'll look at a team and I'll go, or I'll look at their academic patterns from high school, and we'll go to study halls, conditioning, mental training, physical training. First 4 weeks is just getting everybody indoctrinated. So it goes like that. I don't want a 4-hour practice. I want a 2-hour practice. I want it done every day the same way, and rehearse. Basic fundamental skills, muscle memory. Whether it's footwork, whether it's hitting the crap out of the ball, whether it's bullpen, pitching. Those are the things the first 30 days. I set up the team. Now they go. Now you let them go. Okay, let's see what you got. So I told them today, let's see where you're at mentally going from here. We play this weekend. We start scrimmaging teams, just like you. We play ASU, U of A. We play the best teams in the country, and we'll play some crappy teams. But that's what I do.
Sometimes there's a lot of confusion with being a coach. Oh, you're a college coach. You know, you have 2 hours. You just do you train or do your training, and then you go home for the day. Can you? I know. For the ones that don't know, and there's a lot of people who don't know, like, I'm here all the time. I'm here 7 days a week.
I know.
10, 15 hours a day.
You're here more than I am.
Because it's only because I'm trying to achieve what you have. I'm trying to cut back, but I see you work. I see everybody work, and the amount of work it takes to have a successful program. But it's not all about softball or the sport you're coaching. There's all these little details. Can you kind of describe any time in your coaching time frame here at Phoenix College? What's a week like? What's a bad week like that you're overwhelmed versus an easier week because things are just going smoothly? Describe kind of like what you can typically go through. What can a college coach expect? Get especially at our level with the limited resources we have. Let the people know that it's not all like fun and games. It's
Right.
more than that.
No, administratively, it's a pain in the butt. As college coaches, when you're a JC coach, you're one of the best coaches in the country. The reason why is because you don't have support staff like Division I, Division II programs have, compliance officers. You have a staff that actually you can pay money to that is there all the time to help you. My thing is, you just put your head down and go to work. And what gets in the way? My problem is so anal that when I schedule, when I lay out my plans, I make sure I got everything covered going forward. The things that get in the way is the extra stuff that goes on around here. Like we're required, if you look, we just got a department thing sent out the other day, and it lists your job as a coach.
Yeah.
And I'm going, wow, who's got time to do anything else, And I showed my assistant coach, I said, this is what you got to look forward to. It isn't just going out for practice for 3 hours. You are a handyman on everything, whether it's LOIs, whether it's, classes. I just talking to them about registration for the next semester. There's so many hands you have everywhere. And that's probably the difficult thing, but I'm used to it. I've been trained to deal with it, and I've been blessed because I've been successful and been here, that our department takes it a little bit easier on me than the other guys to do other stuff in the department, because I've done all that. I was an AD
Right.
for 13 years,
Well,
and it was the worst job I ever had.
Your job, and I make it clear to everybody I talk to, your job is to win national titles.
Absolutely.
Keep Phoenix College on the forefront of who we are. But yeah, and sometimes I think I might be putting a little too much work into it because, we're doing a podcast. this is something like I kind of created because we don't have it.
No, it's
So
awesome.
we need to create that. So
Yeah,
I
no,
kind
it's
of
awesome. It's awesome. You're very creative in what you do in this department. You just, I don't think anybody has really ever told you that. I'm going to be different here. I'm going to tell you what you mean to the program. You're very creative, and we need people like you, like me, like some of our staff, staff members that contribute to the whole department. Whether it's winning a national title, that's great. But my main thing is that these kids graduate and go on to four-year schools. So, we sent 10 girls on to four-year schools. To me, that's just as important.
And I forgot to ask that question. Like, tell us we all know. Okay, you won 10 national titles and so many region championships, Hall of Fames, everything, whatever. We hear that a lot. Let's talk about the little details that I know you pay attention to. How much money? Get a ballpark. I know it changes all the time. How much money have you secured for for the student athletes of softball to transfer over? How much money? I know it's like ridiculous.
Since I've been here, I think we've been close to $30 million worth of scholarships that we've incurred for student athletes here. Because every one of my kids are fulls. When I first started, I said, I don't want to go 30% here, 50%. I don't want to go through that. So between financial aid, our presidential scholarship, which is really a lot better now, and athletics, every one of my kids is fully funded from just tuition and fees, okay? I did that from the first year I started here. And that also helped recruit players that would have gone somewhere else, at least to the local Glendales, Mesas, or something like that. At first I couldn't compete the Centrals and the out-of-county schools, but that's a big thing on my resume that help attain that for our student athletes.
And that when you say 30 million, that includes what you give them to come here
and what goes
and to transfer out.
Yeah, like I just had a kid go to Cal State San Diego. It costs $50,000 to go to school there for 1 year, and she only has to pay $5,000. Now that's just friggin' unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just amazing. I mean, the educational system, and I want to get here, and I love it because I work for it, but universities, I think the basic student population would just get overcharged.
Oh,
No question.
It's a clear ripoff.
It is.
And they keep increasing because people keep paying, and because the government keeps giving loans.
That's right.
But that's another podcast.
But yeah, I know. But bottom line, that to me, that's a big thing. I'll put my hat on that more even than anything else in my program.
Yeah, and so tell us a little bit about your alumni. So just things that come up, like I know some are now doctors and lawyers, and what's your alumni doing now?
So we have 325 players that we have on our alumni base. It's just so huge, I can't keep up with it, but I try my best. So we have 8 nurses. We have the first female detective of City Phoenix. We have architect that designed the Paris Hotel in Las Vegas.
Oh
I have a chemical engineer that runs a $250 million satellite division in DuPont in Oklahoma. I have United Nations. I have 2 investment bankers. I can go on. I have like 5 firefighters. I have like one of the nurses, well, it was actually a PA, operated on my wife's fusion neck surgery fusion. I didn't know it until she came out of the surgery, and I'm looking, I said, Carla, she was a second baseman for us, but she actually, and I told the nurses, don't ever show up if I'm in a hospital because I made them run too much. They'll probably give me some bad drugs or something.
and now this podcast got very interesting, and I'm all like perked up and stuff. That's crazy to think about. I didn't know. I heard some of alumni history. What else? What else is your alumni doing?
Oh, education. I have, I don't know, at least 20 to 25 educators that are around the valley and across the country. I've had players like I had a player that played for me sent to Coastal Carolina with her boyfriend. They got married. Now they own a business in Carolina. I mean, it's fascinating.
How many marriages has happened from young women that come into your program that married another student athlete here?
I got it. I never counted that, but I got at least say 50, and I have grandkids coming in here. I mean,
Oh my gosh,
I did have Gina Medina, who was 39 years old, and had 4 kids that came and played in 2012. She wanted to come back and get her nursing degree, and she was a first team All-American at 39 years old. Won the 2012 National Championships, Dave, and she was on Sports Illustrated and ESPN because it went across the nation, and other women in that age bracket said, "Hey, I'm really looking up to you." Being a woman at 39 years old, going back to college and playing, and she was very successful. I mean,
so grandchildren will be playing for you. Like, so
grandkids,
my
yeah.
son,
Yeah.
will be playing here. Everyone's like, "Where's your son going to go to college?" I'm like, "Phoenix College." They're like, "Not university." I'm like, "Why?
Why? Yeah.
We beat universities. I'm
That's
not
right.
concerned about that."
Right.
I'm like, everyone's like a knock on JUCO. I'm like, no.
No.
This is an unbelievable experience.
Yeah.
If your program's good,
No,
I won't want them going to a weaker program.
No. Agreed.
But yeah,
Agreed.
I don't consider junior
Not
college.
at all, and
If
that's
anything,
a big-
it's huge development.
Yeah, it's big because of the first 2 years of their basic academic training and that too. And they get to play on the best program in the country. What the heck? You know, I mean, what more? You can still go 4-year.
Yeah.
You still have the opportunity to go after 2.
It's kind of crazy thinking about because, you know, we are the flagship school of the district. And really the flagship of Arizona. We're the first institution.
Right.
And you are the flagship of athletics here at Phoenix College because we're all chasing you, or at least trying to emulate what you're doing, which is kind of set the standard with all the other athletic programs. And I think you become who you're associated with. The women's soccer team currently is number 2 in the country.
Yeah.
We're number 3 in the
You
country.
guys are awesome.
You're
man.
number 1 in the country, and everyone's trying to not fall behind. We want to. I think success breeds success. Do you attribute that to your program? You got so many talented champions on your team. I'm sure they won a lot of championships prior coming to your program. Tell us a little bit about that. Like the players are coming. Obviously, they're very good.
Absolutely.
They come as champions with other champions. What's that like?
Well, I think it's like anything. You want to be part of a winning program. I mean, really. It's like I told the players today. I mean, there's luck involved. You can control the destiny to a point, but you got to have some luck because the ball bounces different ways in different situations. But my athletes that come it's just like today. We just got a recruit from Texas and Oklahoma. Now we're getting kids from different parts of the country that we never used to be able to get, and they want to be part of something good. You know, they want to be part of that. That's recognition, especially for female athletes. They really they thrive on that. So when these young ladies approach us, have them come in, work out. If they got the skill, you know, I had one the other day, didn't have the skill. I had another one that just committed to us. And again, you try to figure out how does that work on your team? How does that see, I coach. One of my main things that I coach is on strengths. I know it sounds weird because we always work on weaknesses, but I coach to the strength of the player as opposed to the weakness. So if they have a strength, I reinforce that strength and reinforce it till it has that effect helping the overall team. Does that make sense? So if you're a hitter and you can hit and the ball is up in the zone is the one you can hit, that's what we keep working on and not worry about the one that's down or away. Because boom, you can hit the crap out of the ball. So same thing with fielding the ball, same thing with pitching, certain pitches that they're better at than others. Go to your strength. That's how you win. Play to your strength, not to your weakness. You can work on it, but you still got to. I coached to that, and I coached to individual players.
I totally understand that. I'm a big believer on playing to your strengths. You'll hear some coaches, you should have used your left foot. I'm like, no. Cut the ball and get it to your good foot, because then I know you're going to score.
That's right.
That's
right.
Always, there's a lot of professional athletes that survived on one strength.
Absolutely.
So, like Greg Vanny, a friend of mine, he's played on the national teams, coach in the Galaxy right now. He had a gifted left foot.
Yeah.
He was average in a lot of areas, but that left foot, he could strike the ball from 35, and he did it often.
Yeah. That's
Focus
critical.
on your strength.
Individual personalities and individual strengths is really what I coach on. I don't, okay, team, you got to be this way. No, I used to do that in my early days. Now it's like, okay, we're one-on-one with each other. Let's talk about what you can do to help this team. And then the other person could be completely different in the way, so it's quite a trick.
Well, it's interesting to really think about, because if you develop this one strength over years of development,
oh yeah,
and it's finally something special, and then you put it to the side and then start working on your weaknesses, then you're diminishing your strength.
Yeah. It's like our player of the year, who I think the world of, because bless her, we retired her number and put her banner out there, and that was Breonna. Her strength was her off-speed pitches. It wasn't her speed. What it was is her speed set up her off-speed. It just gave a different vision to a hitter to keep him off stride. And that's what I said, you really got to, the pitching coach at U of A, you got to keep utilizing her. If you don't utilize that, she won't have the success. So that's a strength she had, and that's what she struck out over 1,200 batters with.
I'll give you an example about a player I had. I had a player here that I didn't play to his strengths. I played to a strength, but his strength was the ability to dribble like Messi.
Right.
And typically coaches we play a system, we play this system, 1-2 touch soccer or whatever it's going to be. And we took away his strength of dribbling because of a system.
Right.
And he wanted to quit soccer after year one.
Right.
And we're like, and he was too good. Like, he's professional level. And we're like, you know what? You be you. So we let the spring season, him be him. And we play Grand Canyon University at Grand Canyon. We lost 3-1, but he dribbled GCU 30, 40 yards at a time, at least like 15 times. And it was the only way we were able to get into the attack.
Sure.
And then they offered him a full scholarship right after the game, because we let him play towards his strength.
Yeah.
And he's now graduated from GCU and played 2 years there, but it was all because we allowed him play to his strengths.
Exactly.
So Heinz, I want to talk more within, and not today, but I want to really tell those stories of alumni. Oh my gosh. So if you can take time to really kind of revisit that, I think we should do another podcast about your alumni. Like,
no problem, man.
That's crazy. Like, the stories on that is fascinating to hear about.
I have a whole wall for them. I have a whole wall in my office. They're all up there. I can tell you where they went, what they did.
Well, we definitely have to do another one. Let me ask you this. We'll close with this.
Okay.
What are your expectations for this upcoming season?
3 in a row, baby.
3 in a row. We'll close on that. This is Coach Cameron with Coach Mueller, and we're signing out. We'll see you guys next time.